Hello! I got my hair cut. I actually really like it. It's weird, I actually feel more feminine the shorter my hair is. I don't really understand what that's about, but yeah, I'm really quite pleased with it. So today is going to be the second installment of my Tarot of the Gods series, and today I'm talking about Gaia. Gaia, like the Morrigan, is a pretty huge name for me. She's a pretty huge deity. She was central to my practice for quite a while, but I would say not even necessarily as a deity, but more actually as a name than anything, and as a very vague sort of concept. And I was definitely drawing on a lot more on the modern interpretation of Gaia, specifically as Earth as a sort of a biosystem, a sort of unified biosystem and that kind of thing. For quite a long time I called Cosmos, or the All, I actually referred to it as Gaia, and I was sort of drawing on her associations with connectedness and the connectedness of everything, that kind of thing. So yeah, I decided that I would cover her early on because she is maybe a little bit difficult to get to grips with. As far as I'm aware, there's not actually a huge amount of, about her in the mythology. She's sort of part of the creation myth of the Greeks, but after that, her role is sort of, it's not really that huge. So the first card to get me started off, that it would be kind of the main card that I would associate with Gaia, is the Empress. So this is an obvious choice. The Empress is the mother, she is a creatrix, she is hugely nurturing and fertile and abundant. She's often associated with kind of artistic creativity and literal motherhood and all that kind of thing. So Gaia is literally a mother. In the Greek mythology, she is the first thing that is created, that is brought into existence, or that comes into existence out of chaos. Chaos was the first thing, and then I think, unless I'm mistaken, then Gaia came into existence. Gaia, as in literally the earth, but also as a Greek god. And she's interesting in that she is literally the earth, but at the same time she is a goddess in her own right. She is a personal deity in the stories in her own right. So yeah, so Gaia comes into existence, and then from her springs basically all of the rest of existence. All of the rest of the Titans and all of the Olympian gods then further down the line are all of her lineage. She creates her first lover, okay, I'm not going to try to remember his name, but he is basically the Sky Father, and he is actually her child, and then he becomes her lover. So she is the ultimate mother, and I felt like this was very well represented by the Empress. I also felt what I like about the Empress in association with Gaia is that it's a card that is very much brings together the elements of earth and water, and Gaia to me is almost more strongly a goddess of water than of earth. Obviously when people think about the earth, they think about the element of earth, but when you think about it, the surface of the earth is 70% water, and there is an awful lot of association with life springing from water and things like that. Water is incredibly important to pretty much all life forms, for existence, to survive, and it's just yeah, a very fertile element. So I like that sort of combination of the earthiness with the water in the Empress to represent Gaia. So the second card is another major arcana card, and this is kind of like the equivalent of the death card for the Morrigan. It's one of those ones that is sort of obvious, but it kind of needs to be dealt with. So that card is the World. So literally the world, the earth, is literally Gaia. But I chose this card not only for that association, but also for its association with completion and fulfillment of potential and that kind of thing. And because Gaia is actually hugely associated with that kind of thing as well. She helps her children to escape from their father's enforced exile. He has sort of exiled them into the depths of her womb. He has pushed them into the earth, and she helps her children escape, or well, she gives one of her children the means to escape from her womb. So it's almost as if she's giving birth to them again. But she repeatedly does these acts of sort of helping people achieve autonomy and victory and power and finding their personal power. That kind of idea is intensely important with Gaia. So I feel the world, in a way, in this situation, maybe represents autonomy and individuation, that kind of thing, coming into full being and into the greatest power that you can. Gaia is very important for that. She not only is the seed, she not only gives birth, but she nurtures. She brings things forth. She allows her children to become the best that they can be. And obviously you can see that literally with the earth itself. The earth is not just some barren wasteland on which we were suddenly placed and, you know, oh yes, we came out of the earth and here we are. Obviously not. All of life is very much connected on here on earth. We are very much reliant on earth itself and its atmosphere and the very specific temperature and atmosphere and all the very specific components of the earth that have made it possible for us to exist. So yeah, I suppose the world is sort of moving on from the Empress. The Empress brings things into being. She is the creatrix, she is the mother, she is fertile, and then the world brings things into their full fruition. The third card I chose is the Eight of Pentacles. And I like this card for Gaia because it's quite practical and kind of down to earth. It's reminding us that work needs to be done in order to bring things about, that we can't just say, oh, I want to be an artist, I want to be this, I want to have a career in finance, I want to, you have to do the work. You have to actually knuckle down and make things happen. Things won't just manifest out of thin air. And I really notice in the Greek myths that things don't, although at the very early stages of the creation story, things sort of do spring into being seemingly out of nothing. But later on, all of the acts of creation and the coming into being of the gods and that kind of stuff, it's all quite messy. None of it is very idyllic or easy. There's a lot of blood, sweat and bodily fluids involved. And this card just kind of reminds me of that. It kind of reminds you that Gaia is very much a sort of earthy, practical, down to earth kind of goddess, not just an ethereal sort of she's an earth goddess, not a sky goddess, if you think about it like that. Like she's very, very much immanent and practical almost. So yeah, this kind of reminds you that the act of creation is not always idyllic, it's not always easy, it doesn't happen in the mind, it happens in the real world. It reminds us of the very kind of earthy, practical work that needs to happen, the grunt work that needs to be done to really bring things into being. I like to think of Gaia as being a sort of artist's muse, but in a very different way to the traditional muses. She's a much more earthy, grounded, kind of practical muse. She puts you to work. She doesn't just kind of float into your head and, oh, this thing just popped into my head and it was effortless. No, Gaia is all about inspiring you to put the work in. And then lastly, I chose another queen this time. I chose the Queen of Cups. So as I mentioned, Gaia is very much a goddess of water for me, as well as being a goddess of earth. So with water you have the associations of fertility and birth. As I mentioned before, there is a general kind of conception that life originated in water. Now, it's not actually clear if that's true or not, but there is certainly that feeling that water is absolutely essential to life, or at least life as we know it. When we're looking for life on other planets, we look for signs of water because, as I say, life as we know it cannot exist without it. Yeah, it has those associations, water does, of fertility and birth, but also with emotions and the unconscious and dreams and creativity. And I feel like those are important aspects to remember about Gaia as well, because so far I've been talking about quite earthy, practical kind of stuff, but I feel that there is this aspect of her as well. When you kind of get to grips with the mother archetype, and with the nurturing aspect of her. That nurturing is not only kind of physical and practical, it's also emotional nurturing, and the necessary emotional and creative and artistic progress that we need to make in order to achieve the individuation of the world. You know, we need to do self-work, we need to pay attention to our dreams, we need to pay attention to our inner selves as much as we do to the outer and our outer work, in order to really fully blossom. The Queen of Cups is very much a healer and a nurturer on an emotional level, more than a physical one, and I felt like that was an important aspect to bring into play with Gaia. When it comes down to it, I think when I bring Gaia into my rituals and into my practice, she is usually much more ethereal and sort of hard to pin down than I have ended up portraying her with my cards. But I think maybe I'm moving towards seeing her in a different light. I have been working with various goddesses of the sea and things like that of late. I've been sort of getting in touch more with that soft, feminine, quite, you know, stereotypically Wiccan kind of goddess figure. In the last couple of months, I've realised that I mean, the fact that the Morrigan is essentially my matron, it speaks volumes. And the idea of the goddess as being a very whimsical, airy-fairy kind of emotional, nurturing, starlight and water kind of figure has never really struck a strong chord with me, or I find it hard to feel that that's really authentic for me. But I've come to the realization recently that that's very imbalanced of me, and that I kind of need to bring that into my practice, and to accept that part of myself. And I think the reason that this has come about is because I dislike that part of myself. I see it as being weak, or I have previously seen myself as being dominated by those aspects of myself, which I think isn't actually true. Yeah, so I think Gaia is taking on a bit of a different role for me, and for a while I was kind of, it was actually Kimmy of Autumn Star Moon who got me thinking about water goddesses initially. The name that she brought up was a different name entirely, and it wasn't something that really ever properly clicked with me. Then I was looking at a different goddess that had very similar kind of connotations of water and fertility and emotional depth and nurturing and that kind of stuff. But now I'm kind of wondering if I just need to go back to basics and re-embrace my relationship with Gaia. And yeah, I think thinking about her in terms of these 4 cards, and indeed other cards in the deck, because, you know, as I said with the Morrigan, I could go on all day, I could pick 50 cards and relate them to her on some level. But I'm thinking now that yeah, that it might be interesting and useful for me to get to grips with Gaia on this slightly different level. On a level, I suppose, that is more connected with her original myth, or her myths, rather than the modern sort of understanding of her, which is a lot less personal. It's more of a concept of maybe monism and unification and connectedness and that kind of thing, which is very, very important for me. If you've watched my videos, you will know that those kind of ideas are hugely important for me in my spirituality, as a pantheist and as a monist. But I think maybe it's time for me to kind of step away from that and sort of start yeah, think about embracing Gaia as a personal deity. So yeah, I hope that was interesting. I think next time round I'm probably going to cover Ganesha, because at that point I'll be well, no, there are a couple more deities who I integrate into my practice on a regular basis, but I kind of want to touch base with all of the main deities that I've actually worked with before I move on to other deities that I haven't worked with, or requests or anything. I've already had one request, which I have definitely put on my list, and I will hopefully get to her. But if you do have a request, if there is a deity that you would like me to cover, I can't make any guarantees because I've no idea how many of these videos I'm going to make or anything, but leave a comment, ask me about it. Who knows, maybe it'll be something that really resonates with me. Maybe they're already on my list. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying this, guys. I'm having a lot of fun with this, actually. I'm really enjoying taking the time to maybe have a look at the myths again, think about things, pick out the cards. It's the kind of stuff I love doing with tarot. I love doing alternative kind of stuff with tarot, other than just spreads. and readings for myself and others. I really like to kind of mix it up with tarot. So yeah, I'm really enjoying doing this so far, and I think it's going to be a series that I will continue doing for quite a while. So yeah, I hope that was interesting, guys. Love you loads. I'll talk to you soon.